What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Ralph's Real Review, and today we are going over Fun and Fancy Free. Now, you may have noticed that my background is a little bit different. I'm going to get into that right now. It has been a little bit of a gap since my last update. I think I last updated at this point about 9 days ago at the time of this recording. That is because I went back to school. So I just wanted to let you guys know that the frequency of videos won't be as quick as it was over the summer now that I'm back into the groove of teaching, and I actually have started a graduate program. So I'm going to have my hands full. Sports is also going back on. I'm the athletic director at my school, so I have a lot going on. But the channel is not dead. I'm just hoping to upload at least one time a week, as opposed to sometimes I was getting 2 or 3 videos out a week. That's not going to be possible anymore. But if you could, let's continue to share. The goals are still the same, right? I still want to hit 25 subscribers by the time we hit Cinderella. After this video comes out, we have 2 more reviews. We should have Melody Time, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and then finally we'll hit Cinderella. So we need about 6 more subscribers within those 3 videos. So if you guys know anybody who would subscribe, if you have not subscribed yet and you've been watching these videos, please subscribe, share, like, do the things so we can hit our goal. Without further ado, though, let's get into Fun and Fancy Free. Now, Fun and Fancy Free is another anthology film. We're almost out of the woods with these. We got 2 more left after this. Fun and Fancy Free follows a weird, quasi storyline where Jiminy Cricket is pretty much jumping from house A and then he goes to house B, and when he's in those houses he hears 2 different stories. There's a story of Bongo the Circus Bear, and then there's a story of Mickey and the Beanstalk. So Bongo the Circus Bear, to my knowledge, is an original story. Maybe it was derived from somewhere that I'm not familiar with, but essentially Bongo is a circus bear and he goes out. He doesn't want to be a circus bear anymore. He wants to be a wild bear, and he goes into the woods and he finds love, but he doesn't know how to express this love because he's not from the wild. So he has to learn, kind of similar to Bambi, how to live out in the wild. And then he has to learn how to get this love of his life back after he kind of rejects her unknowingly. Mickey and the Beanstalk is not as original, right? Like the story, it's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, and it's the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. It's pretty straightforward. Let's get into these rankings. I have Fun and Fancy Free at 6th in animation, right beneath Bambi and right over Make Mine Music. I don't think that I was moderately impressed for an anthology film with how the animation looked. It didn't have the realism that a Bambi had. It didn't have the standout scene that a Bambi had. But I do feel like the colors were more vibrant, but that could have been due to the version of the film that I was watching, right? So because of that, I did feel like I had to put it above Make Mine Music, but below Bambi. There's not too much to say outside of that. Storytelling, I actually put Fun and Fancy Free at 5th, again, right above Make Mine Music. The reason for that being, I found the Bongo story to be very, very engaging. I actually really liked it. Unlike Make Mine Music, which literally was just like, hey, here's a bunch of shorts, they do try to have some sort of connecting thing between these 2 shorts where Jiminy is going from A to B. I don't think it quite works, but the whole point of it is you do have familiar characters who are here, which is engaging. You do have like this connecting thread, which is somewhat engaging. And then you do have Bongo I almost said Bongo and the Beanstalk. Bongo the Circus Bear, which I found to be a very engaging, fun short. Mickey and the Beanstalk is not great. I could use that to ding it a little bit, but I think that the rest of the movie is fine enough that it belongs where it's at number 5. When it comes to characters, I put Fun and Fancy Free just ahead of Fantasia, which was at 7, and just behind the Three Caballeros, which is at 5. I put it at 6. The reason for that being, I feel like it lines up when it comes to original characters. Just like I don't give Sorcerer Mickey to Fantasia, I'm not going to give the Mickey and the Beanstalk characters to Fun and Fancy Free outside of Willie the Giant. And that's where we're going to kind of have this thing here, right? You're going to have Willie the Giant and you're going to have Chernabog. And those are going to be the 2 when it comes to memorability that we talk about. I do realize I might have overlooked the Yen Sid a little bit, but I'll get back to that in another video. But anyway, you have Chernabog and you have Willie the Giant. I think either way, most people might be able to see those characters and recognize them, probably not by name. I do think Willie the Giant was used more often in different mediums, more specifically like kids shows and kids Disney shorts that came out later, that maybe more people will be able to say that is Willie the Giant, as opposed to people who will say that is Chernabog. So I think that it's close there. You could go either way, but the difference for me is I think that Bongo the Bear again was such an enjoyable character for me. I actually really became a Bongo the Bear fan from watching Fun and Fancy Free this last time. I think when you look at it that way, there's also the possibility, and again, it's like unconfirmed, but when you watch Fun and Fancy Free, they do have these two chipmunks in Fun and Fancy Free who are really similar to Chip and Dale. And if it's possible that that is the connector between, or at least the inspiration for Chip and Dale, then I'm gonna give it just a nudge. It's just right above Fantasia. It's not light years ahead of Fantasia. It's just right above Fantasia. But I still have to put it below the Three Caballeros because of the staying power of those characters. Next, we have the Disney factor, where I have Fun and Fancy Free at 7. And the reality of this is, I just felt like when I think about Disney and I think about their company or what they do, there's a lot of imagination that goes into that. And when it comes to this movie, it just felt kind of lifeless to me, not to the level of a Saludos Amigos, right? That's why there are some movies under it, but not many. It just felt uninspired, right? And like Disney is known for taking fairy tales and adapting them, but this was literally like, hey, let's make Jack and the Beanstalk, but let's put Mickey in there since it's like marketable, and then let's just call it like Mickey and the Beanstalk. It wasn't great. And then the Bongo short, again, really liked it. But there wasn't much there in the way of imagination and innovation like some other movies that we've had on this list. So because of that, like there was nothing like outrageous that really took me out of the movie like some movies had. However, there was not enough oomph or enough push or enough let's do something different, which some of the movies had. So I had to put it there at 7. Next, we have music, where I have it at 6. I will say the title song, "Fun and Fancy Free," didn't stick with me. I'm not really like thinking about that song too much, but they do have a song where Bongo realizes that the way that bears show that they love each other is that they slap each other. I don't know the like scientific accuracy of that, if that's something that bears really do, but that song to me was both endearing. Like I thought it was funny to me. It was memorable to me, and when I was listening to it, I kind of didn't want it to end. So because of that, I had to put it up on the list. And then the question was, how far was I going to go before I stopped? And as much as I did enjoy the song, and I know that we did the thing about like original music versus not original music, Fun and Fancy Free doesn't rely on music in the same way that Fantasia does. It just felt wrong to put Fun and Fancy Free ahead of Fantasia in the music category. So because of that, I put it right where it is, which is at 6. Next, we have box office success, where Fun and Fancy Free comes in behind Make Mine Music and the Three Caballeros. You're going to look at the numbers and it's going to look a certain type of way. I went into this in my last video. I don't want to do this every single time until we get past 1951. Essentially, the short of it is there's a discrepancy with finding the real box office numbers. Some sources have the Three Caballeros saying that their returns were official in 1951. Sorry about that teacher thing. So again, the box office discrepancy. Three Caballeros was reported in 1951. When I'm adjusting for inflation, I have to use that number because that's what's listed. But these other movies were released earlier. Well, no, they were released later, but their returns are listed as earlier. So when I adjust for inflation, their numbers go up. If I had them adjusted for inflation starting in 1951, like the Three Caballeros, those numbers actually come in lower. All right. So again, if you want the full breakdown, go back to my last video on Make Mine Music where I discuss it in more detail. But that's why it looks the way it looks. Finally, we have the historical significance of Fun and Fancy Free, where I have to put it at 9, which is actually kind of crazy to me. But there is like literally close to zero that came from this movie. The biggest thing that you have, no pun intended, that came from this movie was Willie the Giant, who was put into other projects. But again, I feel like Willie is more known from the other projects than he is from Fun and Fancy Free. And when I look at that, I'm trying to think of like where I could pull like a Bongo the Bear reference, or where I could pull like any, and there's nothing like that. There's nothing that refers back to Fun and Fancy Free. The closest thing you have is that there is a gift shop in Magic Kingdom called Sir Mickey's, and you could say that like that version of Mickey Mouse is the one from Fun and Fancy Free, but like that's, I mean, that's really grasping at straws. So when it comes to the historical significance of this movie, it wasn't a box office like success. It wasn't a box office bomb. It didn't inspire too much after the fact. There was a character in it that they used in other things. Ninth place. That takes us to a very difficult discussion about the tier list and where we would want to put this movie in regards to tiers. Um, there's pros and cons to this. The pros of this movie are I do feel like there was fun storytelling. The Bongo the Bear short was fun to watch. The animation was good for its time, especially compared to its peers. The music I found to be somewhat enjoyable. So there. When it comes to like these anthology films, there's pros to this one compared to the other ones. The cons were it was a safe movie. There was a safe bet. Um, and they didn't take too many risks or too many chances or try to push the envelope with anything. So when you look at it that way, some people might be expecting me to put this in the skippable category, but I had to really think about what I wanted to do with this one because it's easy to put it in skippable. But I don't feel like I should do that. I think when people look at these anthology films, or at least I'm going to say when I look at these anthology films, if people were to say, okay, I'm looking at the course of Disney history. There's like the classics, and then there's this anthology, and then there's like this second classic era before you hit the Renaissance, right? Where does this movie lie in its era? And in its era, if I were to talk to a Disney diehard, because again, it goes from skippable to Disney diehards, and I were to say, watch the anthology films, I would say, don't watch Make Mine Music, right? I would say, don't watch Saludos Amigos. Would I tell you, don't watch Fun and Fancy Free? I don't think so. I think I would tell a Disney diehard if you want to see the best of the anthology films, watch The Three Caballeros, watch Fun and Fancy Free, and then we'll see. I got to revisit It's About a Mr. Toad, but I have a feeling it might be in that category as well. So when it comes to these tiers, I think that there is enough good going for this movie that I would recommend it to a Disney diehard. You guys think? Did you like Fun and Fancy Free? Were you not a huge fan of it? Have you seen it yet? Let me know in the comments. I do need to get my comments up. Right now, I have one person who is commenting a lot, so thank you for commenting. But for the rest of y'all, please let me know your thoughts. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Go follow me on TikTok or Ralph's Rapid Review. Right now, I'm close to reaching my goal there. I want 50 followers on Ralph's Rapid Review. I think I'm at 40 as of right now. So we're trying to get to 50 by Cinderella. And then also follow Ralph's Review on Instagram if you want to know whenever I go live. Or you could just follow me on TikTok and subscribe to me on YouTube, and then you'll get to know anyway. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, do all the things.